We're all seeking love in our life, right? But we act from a place from emotional attachment rather than love, unless we take the time to heal those wounds, right? Most of us were raised with emotionally unhealthy attachments, right? We were shown love through a codependent lens and unhealed people, right? Therefore, we were shown love through this distorted lens, right? So we're all seeking love in life, but then ultimately have no idea how to treat each other, right? And therefore we continue to create toxic relationships seeking love, right? And when we're unhealed, we can't tell the difference between love and emotional attachment, right? Because the emotional attachment feels like love to us because that's what we knew of as love, right? And again, our wounding isn't to justify our behaviors, right? Oh, well, this happened to me, so this is why I'm this way. It's like, no, no, that's like step one. That's step one, okay? Now you actually have to apply healing to those wounds in your life and then create a different dynamic with partnership, right? So we want so deeply that love, right? But then we're still just so stuck in our wounding, so it feels even more painful, right? Because we're feeling just locked out from love. We're feeling locked out from, what our heart truly wants. It feels unattainable, right? There's been parts of my journey where I'm like, I'm never gonna find a healed man, a man that can match me or see me, because of my emotional state, right? Because of my emotional dysregulation. And I was right, right? Not that I would never find a man that could match me, but I was never going to find a man who was both healed and was going to sit there and hold space for my emotional dysregulation, right? I had emotionally dysregulated partners because that's where I was at in my journey, right? So that becomes then the road map for, like me truly seeing and saying, I want an emotionally regulated partner. I want to be emotionally regulated, right? What does that look like? What does that journey look like, right? I don't want to be in a sea of emotionally unavailable men or emotionally reactive men, right? I had to do the work. I had to do the work, right? And that's why it takes claiming your own heart. It's not that you're not deserving of love, right? But you have to become an embodiment of that within yourself if you want to attract that in partnership, right? Otherwise, you will be living in the codependent codependent dynamic, right? That you're familiar with, right? And the painful thing about this, right, is it's that feeling of desperation, right? Hopelessness, like the feeling, like I said, of being locked out from love, right? And yes, your inherent nature is just to be loved as you are, right? But you have to recognize a reciprocal relationship comes from an exchange of healthy love and connection, right? So it really, really does take looking at your own behavior and healing your own attachments around love, the dynamics that you create around love, the wounds that you hold, right? Then you can begin to separate true feelings of love from wounded connection, right? Because the truth is, most of us are living, we're living from wounded connection unless we're consciously living from healed and conscious love, right? You're either consciously or unconsciously interacting. So choosing to be present with how you're showing up in love, right? And looking at that internally, right? Why am I attracting this dynamic into my life? why am I behaving in this way? Not why is my partner this type of person? Why are you dating this type of person? Why are you attracting someone who does this, right? That's a reflection of your behavior, right? Your partner is a mirror, not your emotional trash bag. That is not love. That is not love. If you think that your partner is supposed to be the household dumpster for all of your emotional experience, you have a delusional perspective of what love is. Am I using strong words? Yes, I am. It's delusional. I've been there, okay? You cannot be in that type of dynamic with somebody and think that is love. It's not. It's a distortion. You're using partnership to dump your emotional wounding instead of doing the healing work. That's what we've made partnership now, right? Like, that is literally modern partnership. Someone to be your trash bag, someone to carry your emotional burdens. That is not what love is for. Like, all you have to do is look at divorce rates. Look at the way partners treat each other out in the world, right? It's a joke. It's a joke. It's not love. It's emotional codependency. And then you and your emotionally unhealed partner are making children from an emotionally unhealed place, right? It has to stop. It has to stop. This isn't love. This isn't reciprocity. And this is not how you raise healthy human beings. How many times have you seen a parent at the store screaming like a child at a small child, right? How silly do you look acting like a child, screaming at a 4-year-old to do better? Have you really not for a second stopped to look at your own behavior? Have you really not stopped for a second to see that you are the reason that child is acting from that way? Look at your behavior, literally. If anything, people should be like, wow, like, I'm not just like this. I can heal this. I can become different. I can change my behavior. That's a good thing. You weren't just born like this. Oh, I just came like this. No, you didn't. You were conditioned into a specific way of being. And you can also condition yourself into a different way of being, right? You can't even emotionally show up for another being, a partner, a child, if you can't emotionally show up for yourself, right? You haven't even held that space for yourself. How are you about to do that for somebody else? When you truly do your own emotional healing work, your own personal development, and you align with the person that you are, your partner becomes someone that you are doing life with, right? Like, that's partnership. That's collaborative energy, right? That's reciprocity. If we're both showing up and building something together, that is what a partnership looks like. And then we can both show up from a place of love, like actual love, right? Rather than anytime your partner does something, it's triggering a wound inside you that you haven't healed. And so now you're having a reaction to whatever the experience is between you, right? That's what's happening. When you show up healed in yourself, then the channel of love is clear. It's not coming through a distorted lens of your own suffering, right? And now you're making your partner responsible. And yes, it's painful to heal your own heart, and especially because we're healing a wound that should have been ours with somebody else, right? We weren't given the love we needed as a child. So yes, we do want to resource that outside of ourselves. We're all looking for somebody to love us in the way that we didn't receive, right? We didn't receive real love. And so we're on this journey to receive the love we never got, right? And yes, we're meant to create that in partnership. Absolutely. But the difference is if you go from trying to recreate the love you didn't get you're doing it through the same wounded lens. And then you're creating the same dynamic of wounding in love. When you heal yourself and then come into that love, right? You can enter a place of love that you never received, but that's love within yourself and then love within partnership, right? It's not just outsourcing somebody else to fill the wound from your past, right? Because that's what it is. I didn't get this love, so I'm trying to find somebody else to love me where I didn't receive it, right? And this truly is the deepest wound, because yeah, we should have been loved unconditionally as a 3-year-old, as a baby. Yes, you absolutely should have been loved unconditionally. Were you? Most people were not, right? Most parents, again, because they're unhealed, view children as an extension of their own reality rather than an autonomous being that they are guiding and supporting on the journey of life, right? They claim ownership over the child and therefore don't even recognize the child as their own experience, truly. You're not making a baby. You're making a human life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not cute. It's not a, like, you know, it's not a trophy to show off to your friends, you know. But that's how many of us were treated, right? That's why we're all in performance-based proving for our love, right? Because that's what we were taught. Prove your love. Dance, monkey, dance. No, you should have been loved unconditionally. You know, your mom shouldn't have thrown a little personal fit about you for existing as a 2-year-old, right? Towards you, right? Like, because she's stuck in unhealed reactive state and she's taking it out on a 2-year-old, right? Like, come on, let's do better. Let's do better for sure. Like, as a collective, we can for sure do better at, like, I don't know, bringing up humanity. You don't like my sarcasm? I don't like how many wounded children are on this earth. So it is what it is, right? It's real, you know. Taking responsibility for your healing journey, right? This is how you become a responsible human functioning in the world. And then you contribute with what you're creating. And if you're not consciously doing that, again, you're unconsciously doing that. And that's still creating a lot. Think about how much trauma 2 people are bringing into the world by not healing and creating life and then pouring trauma into that child, right? Think about the ripple effect of trauma that's being created every generation. And think about what kind of a different ripple can be created just by doing your own healing. Just by recognizing your own wounds, claiming your own heart, and aligning with the truth of connection. What does that do? It changes the world. You're like, well, there's so many things happening in the world. How is emotional healing going to change the world? It's actually like the only thing. The internal healing is the only thing that's going to change the world, because when we're healed within, then we can be in alignment with ourselves, and then we can make right choices for ourselves and our interaction in the world. And therefore, that is the ripple effect of change. We don't change by talking about the things that are wrong with the world. We don't change by acknowledging all the chaos. We change by behaving differently and creating something different. It actually truly is that simple.